stand to my feet now because
Come on.
Queen. Do I need to stand up now? And there you go. God bless each and every one of you that have stopped in to see us in season number 5, episode 13.
God bless the saints.
God bless the saints, and thank God for each and every one of you. First Lady,
Yes.
I have something special for you today.
No.
No? You know nothing special?
No.
What I thought about is, if the Lord said the same delay is coming, we are about to
Okay, I got
celebrate
this
the
Here we go.
27 years
27 years in ministry.
in ministry. April of this year was 27 years. We're not celebrating until this month. And I thought about 27 years, which I don't know where time went.
Oops.
But there's something that
I'm
I
having
was,
issues today.
huh?
I said I'm having issues today.
There's something I thought about, and I was thinking about your role, if I could say, which you wear many hats. But
This is chatting with the Clays, not chatting with First Lady.
no, it's not. But this
Oh, okay.
this will be part of that. But I was thinking about the different things that a pastor and wife have to do to get the job done. And it's something that I did a workshop some years ago. I was looking at some of my notes, and it was back in, I forgot the year it was, but I did one dealing with the work of a secretary, executive secretary. But then I went further. I said, you know what, over 27 years, have you ever heard people talk about success in ministry? You know, what seems to be successful,
I'm sure probably somewhere along the way.
you know. And but really what it takes, or what it has taken to really do ministry in wow, I don't want to jump on the bandwagon and talk, because everything pretty much talks about the transition of what happened with COVID-19 coming in, and how that we had to not reinvent the wheel, but put new tires on a different rim, you know. And so I was thinking about really not only with the pastor and wife, but with the congregation in ministry today. So I was looking at the multi things that, you know, we do behind the scenes, and people do behind the scenes to get the work done for kingdom building. And so that's what I was thinking about. You know, I was really thinking about the time. Time has just flown.
Yep. 27 years, seen a lot of things.
Oh.
And it's not, that's not cliche for sure. It's been a lot of different transitions. The way we started out is not where we're at today.
Yes.
And
yeah.
seeing the face of the congregation change
Yes.
a lot.
Yeah.
And for us, I think we're not a college town, but we're close to a college town, and we've had many, many, many college students. That's kind of been the theme of our congregation.
Yes.
So we see the great turnover a lot, because, and we're in Iowa too, and a lot of your students of color come from other places, and where it's predominantly, they come from communities that are predominantly African American or something else, and multiracial. And this is a place that's really a culture shock. It has been a culture shock for them. So they come to go to school in Iowa, Cedar Falls, Iowa, for the most part, or Waverly, or even Waterloo, and
Right.
then they, get their degree and either go back or move on. So there hasn't been a lot that stayed as college students. We've had some, but the majority of them leave because it really, they came for the education and they move on. So we've seen a lot, in membership,
Would you say
a lot of change.
would that be every 4 years?
Not necessarily every 4 years, but because some of them, a 4-year degree anymore. Some people take 6. Some people take 5.
Gotcha. So it's not really.
They might take some time or take summers or whatever off. So it's not necessarily every 4 years, but we see a constant turnover. As far as that goes. And the locals, if you will, the people that live here. We've seen the face of that change because there's people that have moved and gotten older and those types of things. So it's forever changing. It's ever changing, and it has been a constant adjust and readjustment. And I think. If we're honest, in ministry, we've had drought seasons, and then we've had seasons that we have really flourished. So, constantly adjusting to that.
Right.
It's not necessarily something written in stone that you have church this way. I remember a time where it probably was 90% college students, and they came here to go to school, and they didn't come here to go to church.
Right.
And we had a tutoring center, and so they were busy, and we afforded a lot of them opportunities to do their practicum or their work experience and things like that in elementary ed through our tutoring center and things like that. So it's ever changing atmosphere, if you will, around here in Medical Central. And like I said, it just depends on, I think we had a couple years where the black student, what were they called? Their choir. The choir president or the choir director was a member here.
Right.
And so we had that. So, it's just been a lot of different things that we've experienced along the way. So it's been ever changing. And you have to be able to bounce. You have to be able to move with the change. And the thing that remains constant is you're trying to win souls to Christ.
Right.
That's the constant. But how you do it is not always the same. So I think, in the way that we have had church, and then, like I said, now the pandemic hit, so that's something that was really new, and so now we're trying to figure out how to put the church back together, so to speak, from the pandemic, because people really, I think it was a dirty trick that the enemy played on the saints because they were, not coming to church, but going everywhere else. So I think it was a thing that, the enemy came in on that part, that we don't want to congregate in crowds, but you're congregating in crowds when you go to a restaurant, to a grocery store, to a mall. We're going back to ball games, to movie theaters and things like that. What's the difference? So, here we are 27 years later.
27 years.
When we came, I think our oldest child, he was his first year in college. So he wasn't quite 18 yet. He was 17, going to be 18 in that July. And now we're empty nesters, so to speak.
have
We have
grandchildren.
Grandchildren.
That's
We've
in
seen
college.
several generations
Yes.
come through the church.
Yes.
Our first baby born, Raekwon, was our godson, and he is now, well, if it's been 27 years, he's got to be 27 because he
Yeah.
was the first baby born
Right.
in the ministry. And now he's married and has children. And so it's, it's the good thing about it, it has been wonderful to see people's lives change.
Right. Yes.
It has been
Yes.
wonderful to see who the young people have become. We've had a lot of great careers come through and that we've prayed for. Not that we've done it, but we help cultivate and send them on in the right direction, and just to know that you've had something to do with that, that's rewarding.
It is. Yes.
And they come back and say thank you, and they come back and say, and some things we don't even remember we've done. We were just in trench work, doing the work, and they come back and say, you remember you prayed for me for this, and X, Y, and Z, and look at me today, and it's like, wow,
Well, I was thinking on some pastors that are pastoring now, and
yeah, indeed,
that without saying no names, one we babysitted or you babysitted him and whatnot, and now he's pastoring. There's multiple ones that were just, some were newborns and others that just were in kindergarten stuff, and they're pastoring.
yeah,
And it's like, and you don't know who watches you at what age.
yeah,
A lot of these, I've talked to some, and when I was little, I would watch you and just like I was always in awe, and you really don't know the lives that you really change, or lives that are changed through your life.
Hey, Sister Sandra, good to see you.
And when you look at, hey, Sister Sandra, good to see you, good to see you. Yes, good to see you. And we miss you. The lives that you can touch, and you can touch lives that you don't know that you're touching
Right.
until they come to you and tell you that something that you said, something that you did was the transformation
Yeah.
in their lives. And,
Well, even something they've learned here.
Yeah,
We've had a lot, especially students, come from different backgrounds, different reformations,
Yes,
if you will.
yes.
And the fact that we weren't trying to convert them to the Church of God in Christ or whatever Reformation we are, and just show them Christ, how to live right, help them develop into adults,
Yes. Yeah.
those types of things, they come back to you and say, I was really going through this time and was ready to give up or whatever, and even though I was raised in the church, I learned something with you all that I took back to my church or took back to my family. And it enlightened us. It helped me along the way. It helped me help my situation, outside of church. So those types of things, they're always rewarding.
It is.
And, you don't always see them, but when you go into ministry because, first of all, you love God.
Yes. Yeah.
And anyone that loves God loves the things of God. And to teach and preach his word and to help people along the way, to help save their lives, so to speak. That's the thing that you do. That's what you do. You don't necessarily look at it. You don't keep score on what I did.
Right.
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 But you just try to show everyone Christ
Do that.
in a better way. So you don't keep score on that when you love the Lord. You know, you don't.
don't.
How many souls am I responsible for? You know, like you said, there. And then to turn a corner, excuse me, I got some kind of. It might be, I don't know if it's allergies or not, but I got some dust or something, and it just had me sneezing in my throat and everything. But I drove past somebody and had windows down. They were cutting grass and blowing leaves or something. So it just seemed like I'd been messed up ever since that. But you know, just to see the change in people's lives, and they say, you know, this is what changed my life. But the funny thing, where I was going with that, how many babies did we see born, you know?
Oh my goodness.
And the young people. And I didn't know I was a midwife until we started pastoring. And I know we had one instance where we were traveling. We had was a regional Sunday school meeting, and we were in Minnesota, and one of the young ladies went into labor and called while we were there. We're like, "Don't you have that baby until we get back?" And
No, that's what you said. And I'm the one that's about to get my driver's license suspended because of we hit the road.
yeah, we
you
hit
know
the
what?
road, and
You do things because you love God so,
yeah,
and it's for the people.
yeah,
You know, and the stuff that the things that you do because you love the people of God. What your brother say? Some stuff you just can't make up.
no.
Listen.
Look, I didn't even want to be in the delivery room when I had babies, so I don't even know where I got the strength to walk through.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
and I can't tell you how many, you know,
And they're in college
mothers
now.
that I've walked
Yes,
through.
oh my goodness.
You know, so
Wait a minute. Okay, listen. When you brought that, I had a flashback. Do you recall when I did a revival in St. Louis, and he's a bishop now in the church, and I won't say the names or whatnot, but I did a revival. You of course you was my road person,
ride or die.
my who what
Ride
is it?
or die.
Ride or die, my navigator. So anyway, we went, and the first time, let me, if I was going to teach him what I say, put a pin there.
Okay,
Because there's
right here.
there's been so many firsts
Yeah,
for 27 years. Seems like there's always a first for something to happen. And so we were at in St. Louis, and they had a flatbed outdoors, and we had the service. I think we started indoors and ended up being outdoors on the flatbed. But
was that your stomach? Just
no,
kidding. Just kidding.
Thank
Just
you.
kidding.
Well, all right. And so anyway, there was 100 and something children, and they wanted me to preach to these. There was elementary and junior high. It was elementary, grade school and elementary.
Well, that is elementary.
Yeah,
That is elementary.
and this is kind of funny, but I never ministered to a whole group of young people. I thought, you always say, what I ministered to like adults and stuff, not children. Back then they had there was, I guess, a cartoon, the Transformers.
Yes.
Listen, I was there and I said, God, how do I preach the gospel to young people of that magnitude? I've never did that before. And you talking about uneasy, you talking about sweating, and I'm asking God, Lord,
You were young then too. You were a lot younger than you. 27 years younger.
Yeah. Well, thanks for reminding me. Thank you.
You
And
were a
so
lot younger.
I was saying, because kids have souls.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they are forgotten or overlooked because they're young. But they need to be ministered to.
Those kids poured out, and the Lord just came in that area
Didn't he do
in
it?
a huge way.
Didn't he do
And
it?
they were so grateful. They were, yeah, that was a different type of
It was
ministering.
totally different.
And
Yeah.
some of those kids, I remember they wrote. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes. So grateful.
wrote letters of thanks and wanted to know when we were coming back, and
Yes.
just, so many things, and some of their following up with that pastor, with the youth pastor that was there. Some of those young people brought their their parents and
Yes.
everything. They led their families.
Yes.
But
Yes.
again, like I said, it's been ever changing. And
But I didn't get to finish my story.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Can I finish?
Finish your story.
Okay.
Sure, finish.
And then you can pick it up.
Okay.
The Holy Ghost spoke to me and said, preach to them and use the cartoon Transformers.
Okay.
And you know how the cars, I think, what was it, the yellow car is called
The Bumblebee.
Bumblebee, and then there was
What was the big?
somebody help me that's tuned in.
Yeah.
And let me know. It was a 18-wheeler truck
Yeah, it was the truck. That was.
that turned into if
Come on, Quentin, where are you?
somebody that's
he's
out
in
there.
Church. Come on, somebody. What was the truck's name?
Yeah, the Transformer vehicles. But oh my goodness.
But we remember the yellow Bumblebee.
Yeah, right, that was-
what was the Bumblebee? Was that a Mustang or a Bug?
I think it was a Mustang.
Yeah.
But anyway, Optimus Prime
Optimus
was,
Prime.
but that was
Exactly.
a
that Optimus Prime was the truck, the
okay.
18-wheeler.
So
Yeah.
I was talking about, and I was
Optimus Prime was the truck.
okay,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
we had some help coming in. So
Now Bumblebee was a Mustang.
I think it was a Mustang.
VW Beetle.
No.
But didn't it change in the newer one?
Into a Camaro.
A Camaro, yes.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was Optimus Prime and what other? It was
Bumblebee and Optimus
Bumblebee
Prime were the two in
and
Transformers.
oh my goodness. But
Tron and Starscream.
Yes.
yeah, what's the
Yes.
name? What was it?
Starscream was the airplane.
Screen.
Starscream.
And Megatron.
It was a big gun.
Yeah. So anyway, when the Lord told me to use
You should remember that. You were with us when we ministered.
in St. Louis. But anyway, when the Lord told me to use the cartoon,
Yeah.
He said, talk about how that the enemy can transform into different things.
Here we go.
And so when I was preaching to the children,
Yeah.
I
Sister
used,
Crystal said Megatron.
there you go. And,
She got boys.
and I used the, it was Autobots, right? Autobots.
Autobot and Decepticon.
Yeah, and so anyway, and I was preaching to the young people using the Transformers. That's the way God gave it to me. And God came into that place. Them kids got saved, and God slayed them out
They were.
in the church from that cartoon. But I never ministered to young people like that.
People.
So in 27 years being the first, them kids had me sweating. Oh, I was sweating. Oh my God. But because I had kids and knowing how the enemy works, but they identified with it.
Yes.
And God saved them young people. So there's a lot of firsts and stuff over these 27 years. I'm saying, when you think that you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
let me help you out. You really don't.
You really don't.
You really need God. I don't care all you do. It takes the Lord. And so I'm going over my life in 27 years on Lord, how did I make it through? I remember at the old church when one guy came in, he got so mad in the service. He was mad. What happened, he bought some crack and got high. and he was high coming into church.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
came up to the front of the church.
Yeah.
And the enemy, God spoke and said, he's high, but I can deliver. The Lord hit him and delivered him, sobered him up. And he got mad. He was mad at me.
He said you messed up his eye.
Yeah. I messed his high up. In
You
other
know
words,
how much I paid for
yeah.
that?
He said all the money he spent to get high, and he came to church and God sobered him. These type of verses, like, you can't make up the stuff.
No.
You know?
No.
And when you look over what has happened, anything you recall over these 20, I mean, just bring something out that really like, man, this was a God moment.
Oh, I don't know. Like I said, it's been so many different things that it's just, one thing, yeah, when you think about where the Lord spoke and said it was time to move. And we thought the Lord had given us a school.
Right. Oh, now you talking about, listen, you can get embarrassed too.
Well, but that wasn't because we bid on the school, remember? And they said the school, the Waterloo Public Schools, said we won the bid, and it was in the paper. We knew nothing about it.
We won the bid.
Yeah, and we
Right.
knew nothing about it. And people were coming to us telling us,
Congratulations.
We were,
Yeah,
congratulating
congratulating
us. We'd just come back from the Holy Convocation.
Sure did. Sure
in
did.
Memphis that
Sure
year.
did.
And we just thought that that was the Lord had granted our requests because the Lord had told you it was time to move.
Right.
And also through the prophetess, he also spoke it was time to move. So
Yes.
we just knew that was where we
Yes.
were supposed to move.
Now, I want y'all to listen to this because this is going to be a blessing to you. Just listen to this part. Go ahead.
Oh, and continuing to pray and because we had to secure funds and all of that, we were yet praying, even on how to move for that. And the Waterloo Public Schools came back and said, well, if you wait 3 years, then you can move into that school because they needed to use that building for 3 more years.
A temporary, yeah.
Yeah, to do their training.
And you can use it from Monday. No, you can use it on the weekends, but from Monday through Friday, they needed to occupy it.
So we were disappointed, thinking, no, if the Lord gave us this building, we wouldn't be hung up for 3 years doing this. And we continued to pray, and seek the Lord. And in 3 years, the Lord spoke and gave us this building.
But back up, stay there, back up. When we knew we didn't get the building, it was in the paper. I had to get up and announce that we can't go into this building.
For 3 years.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so the people's face was like, well, if God said it's yours,
Yeah.
then why would this be a hang up like this? So sometime when God is moving, what he's doing is taking you out of your thinking pattern and he's about to move you into his perfected will. So when that happened, I had to get up before the people and say, well, this is not our building. And I did not know what to do. That's the part that I thought I was embarrassed because I'm saying, God, I represent you. And I told the people, but it's not happening. Do you recall that?
I do, yeah. But that's what you were saying, what was one of those moments, and that was.
Yes.
And so we waited, the 3 years that they gave us to wait was the 3 years it took for the Lord to move the people out of this building. And he had this place for us. Had we moved before the 3 years, we would have been out of sync with God, and we wouldn't.
There you go.
The place
there
we
you
moved
go.
into,
There you go.
this place, the people had died out. The generations had died out.
Yes.
And the pastor was coming from a small town.
Yes.
Only on Sundays.
Yes.
And they were ready to sell the building.
Yes.
And they were saying that the community And the pastor wanted this building to stay a church, but they wanted to tear it down and rezone. And so the owners of this church said they wanted it to stay a church. If we would have moved before that 3 years was over, it would have been torn down, it would have been rezoned, and we would have missed what God had for us. The 3 years wait, that's why we have to be sensitive to the Spirit of God, because the 3 years that we had to wait was the 3 years that the Lord was preparing this place. And if we would have moved into the school, we would have had to have the asbestos removed. We would have had to have a lot of interior work done to make a sanctuary.
Right. We had to gut it. Right.
And we would have had to gut it. We would have had to buy pews. You know, we would have had to do so much in renovating. But the Lord had a church that all we had to do was move into.
And never was there a for sale sign put on the building. There was no for sale sign put out there.
No.
So God, it was for sale, and it was held in, what do I want to say? When you hold something in
escrow?
In escrow, just for us.
Just for us.
But God had to get us, God had to get us mentally ready.
But that's one of those
move.
wow moments, you know, that where you say, you know, was there anything
Wow.
wrong with it? And you know, the people laughed and teased us because we were in that small building and we were raising funds, and they were saying, well, we're watching the meter on the wall and it's never going up.
Right.
But
right.
When God has something for you,
It's yours.
it's yours.
It's yours.
And it
It's
doesn't
yours.
come the way people think it should come.
Right.
And that's the reason why we always have to be sensitive and in tune with God, because the will of God doesn't look like what we want it to look like. But the will of God is what God says it is.
And listen, I have another wow moment. You remember the time when I had caught a cold or something, and I don't know, it wasn't pneumonia, it was something at the beginning of the year. We had an ice storm in January. And I told you, I can't do it. You're going to have to take care of the church and minister to the people.
Yeah, bronchitis.
Was that what it was? I was out. And you came and stepped out of your truck
Wow moment.
and hit the ice, and that's when you broke your ankle. Horrifying. And it was in a cast later on. And we were out to, later on that year, we went out to eat at a restaurant. And we left the restaurant driving back someplace. I don't know where he was going.
Home.
Was it home? And you had a cast on. Now, the way that your
I
truck...
had that big boot on.
The
I
boot.
never was casted. I was just in a boot.
And the way that console was that you couldn't get over to the driver's seat. I had a stroke. And some kind of way that you talked me into, because I was behind the driver's wheel. A lot of it is just a blank, but somehow you talked me into. You know it more than I do. And I was able to go and pull the truck over, right?
To a parking lot.
And so when we got to the hospital, well, we got there, and we know the rest is history. But what I remember is they was wheeling us down. I think wheeling me down to go through.
They were taking you to ER to do X-rays.
No, I was in rehab.
No, you were in ER. No, you weren't in rehab. That was when. Remember, you don't remember.
No.
Remember, you don't remember.
Okay. Well, that's
Remember?
No, I don't
You don't
remember. For me to remember
was a
that I don't
funny-
remember.
that was a
Okay,
funny.
all right.
But you had that stroke when we were in the ER. They were taking you to do the MRI. And I couldn't walk yet still.
Yeah, there you go. You remember that.
So they had you on the gurney wheeling you down and had me in the wheelchair wheeling me beside.
Both of us was in wheelchairs.
No, you weren't laying down.
Was I laying down?
Yes,
How come
sir.
I thought I was in a wheelchair.
Because you don't remember. You were having
I
a
have to
stroke.
remember that I don't remember. All right, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So much of these wow moments.
Yeah.
And who would have thought that? And when they talk about, when people think that ministry or pastoring is a prestigious
Yeah.
position, it's work.
It's work.
And
It's a
not
lot
only
of
work, but it takes a dedicated life to the people of God. Because you don't know what you're going to face.
Pastoring is serving.
It's serving, yes.
And again, you serve the people. The people don't serve you. And when you're pastoring, I think, again, a lot of times people look at pastoring, like you say, as a prestigious job, but they don't understand that you're serving the people. So a lot of it is not prestige. A lot of it, you are down in the gutters really working because you're trying to bring what's best to the people. You're trying to bring what God wants the people to have. And in doing that, it's not always up here on the mountaintop. You
Right.
have to start down here.
Right.
And it's trench work.
Yes.
And that's really not a cliche. It's trench work because most of the time, people come to God. They come to church when they're at their lowest. They come to God when they're in situations. Most people just don't come and say, you know what? Today I just think I'm going to give my life to God because I don't know what else to do.
I have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Right.
But most of the time they're in a situation where they've tried everything or they feel like their life is over. They're in crisis situations. And that's when they find the church. And so they come to you. And so you're helping people put their lives together. You're helping them pick up pieces and really putting their lives together.
Yes.
So it's not about you shining, but it's about you serving. It's not about how good you can look doing this, but sometimes you have to get down with people and you've got to cry with them.
Right.
You have to get down and show them the way. So pastoring is a serving. It's a serving position. It's humbling because a lot of times you find yourself in situations where you think that you would never be in this situation.
Yes.
And you are, helping people. So, throughout the 27 years, there's been so many times where, like I said, because you don't look at it as I'm doing this, you just do what needs to be done to fill the need or to meet that need. And you don't make a running list of what all that you have done, So some things, until somebody comes back and says, you know what, I remember when one young lady told me, she said, do you remember when I didn't have any glasses and you gave me your glasses? Now, that might sound funny, but prescription glasses. And I was like, no. She said, yeah, you gave me your glasses because I can't remember if she broke her glasses or what happened. But anyway, she couldn't get it. She said, and I told her, see if you can see through mine. Wow. And she said they were perfect. And I gave her my glasses. I mean, it's things like that you really don't think about, but you just meet the need at that point.
And y'all had the same. She could see out of them.
She could see out of them, so obviously we had the same prescription. And because I usually buy my glasses in twos,
Wow.
for that reason.
Is that the day that you was driving me and ran up on the curb because you didn't have your glasses on?
No.
No, that wasn't. Okay, I thought I'd ask. I don't know.
No.
I'm just kidding, y'all. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but these are the things, and until somebody reminds you, you don't even think about it, And I'm sure I probably was thinking, well, I have two pair because I usually buy them in twos, just for that reason, in case I lose a pair or whatever, break a pair, whatever. And she said, yeah, you gave me your glasses. And she said, I was just like blown away because they worked and then they were nice glasses, But pastoring, these are the things you do because you have a heart for the people.
I have another funny. And as I'm thinking about, you remember that time that I got ripped off? Well,
Lord.
one of the
I was
times.
gonna say which
Yeah, this one here.
Mr. Nice Guy.
Yes, this one here.
Mr. Nice Guy.
You know, I listen. I love me some Jesus, and listen. God gives
you
us.
love
God
people.
directs. I love people.
You love people.
Even though that I got saved out of the streets, I
Yeah.
wasn't raised in. You know, I still have that sense and understanding. You know. So anyway,
You just overrode it.
yeah, a guy came in and he wanted help. So I said, he had a speech. Man, he had this speech laid out. And I'm in tune to his speech, and he talked about he needed money and finances, and he's so tore up because one of his children has asthma, and he didn't have money to buy, and his kids going through. I said, man, I remember two of my children had asthma when he moved from Denver,
Yep.
Iowa, and we had to get breathing machines and every the two
Albuterol,
yeah
Intal.
and yeah
They
Intal. So
have to
anyway,
have
I
it
said
in school.
I said, man, yes, I know, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there, and I said, I tell you what,
Hang now.
I'm going to take care of your medicine, and then I'm gonna I'll give you a box of food so you can feed your children. So I asked him, I said, I said, what type of medicine does your child is your child taking? And he said, Asthmadorf. And when he said Asthmadorf, I was about to give him money, and I said, wait a minute, Asthmadorf? Man, and something clicked in. I said, listen, there's no such thing as no. I said, you're a con artist. I said, you're trying to rip me up, but I tell you what I'm going to do. And I already fixed a box of food. So I'm going to give you this food, but I'm not giving you no money. So he's kind of disgruntled and mad. So I said, and I'm going to take you where you want to go. So I got the box of food, put it in the car, got him in the car, and I drove. And he said, let me out right about here. When he said that, he takes the box of food, never to say thank you, cuts across the street, and I know he went to a drug house or a bootlegging joint, and never to say thank you.
No, I remember the one. Was that a female that
Which
said she needed some money?
husband and wife
Was it husband and wife
walking down the
They-
sidewalk
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Yeah. This is the nicest guy. He's the nicest guy in the world.
Do you remember that one?
And you told him you're going to give them this money, and if they do anything with it other than what they said they needed, that the Lord was going to get them, and you prayed for them. They gave the money back.
Yes. Gave me the money back and said, well, no, thank you. No. And they took off.
They left.
Yeah.
That scared
Yeah.
them.
They gave
Said,
me
God's
the money
gonna get
back.
you if you use it for anything other than
Sure
what you
did.
said you needed.
And you know what? After that time, well, and then there was another time. And why I'm sharing this is because when you're pure and honest,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
enemy sees that too, and he'll
Yeah.
come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
You remember that time when I got a phone call and the woman had some children. She was in distress, and man, she had a speech down, and reeled me in. Car broke down, and she knew some people that I knew, out of another state. And I said, man, yes. I don't know how to this day, I don't know how that worked out. But anyway, she needed $700 something. So I wired over $700 to her.
And you didn't tell me.
I know,
Because
I
I
didn't tell
told you
I didn't tell
I
you.
would
I didn't tell you.
have
I didn't tell you.
referred her to services.
I didn't tell you. I wired her over $700 something
Yeah.
to get her car fixed and to get back here to Iowa. And you know what? I don't think she's not made it yet. In 20,
She hasn't made it in
no,
27 years.
She still ain't made it.
And then she got some more pastors around in this area. That's how
Yeah.
you found out it was a scam.
And so
But-
what am I saying? You can be saved, full of the Holy Ghost, and being a pastor.
Yeah.
And sometimes the enemy still find a way,
Sure.
to get in. But I
But when
counted.
you love people, you
Yeah,
know,
there you
that,
go,
those
there you
kind
go,
of
there
stories
you go.
and things, they
There
tug
you
at
go.
your heartstrings, and people
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
There are people that just prey
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
people
yeah.
like that. You have people that just
Yeah.
prey. I'm
Yeah.
talking about PREY, prey on ministries
Yeah.
and those type charities
Yeah.
and all that. You know, and you learn
You
along the
learn,
way
you
because
learn,
there's
you learn.
really no clear gauge that you can use to know who's really truthful and who isn't, because then if you turn someone down and they really needed it, then you're feeling horrible. But then
Right.
when you help people and you're feeling horrible and say, I had children too that had asthma, and then find out they were just lying to you,
Asthma
then that
Dorf.
makes you mad. Yeah, you know, because you know you got taken.
Yeah, I got
so
taken.
you know, and again, I mean, you don't live in the spirit 24/7.
Right,
So the spirit's
right,
not always
right,
talking to you and saying,
right.
da 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 da. Sometimes you're just emotional.
Yeah,
Because again, like I said,
Right.
those type stories, they connect.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have people that are professional at these.
Yeah.
You know, I know people. Well, just like the one that I remember getting the phone call that we had around Christmas time. And the woman called, she had 4
Always.
children
Always,
and, you know, all
always.
this kind of stuff. And I just happened to be at the church by myself that afternoon. And she called and, you know, had this big story and had these kids all under 7 and 4, I think it was 4 kids under 7 years old and needed clothes, needed it. And I said, well, give me the size of the kids, it's clothes. Well, then she had to call me back. But she played the game. And I said, well, you know, I'm thinking to myself, if these are your 4 kids, how come you don't know what size clothes they wear? But okay. So then she called back. It was the same afternoon, within an hour. And so she gave me 2 sizes, and then the other 2 she couldn't. But, you know, the story kept just getting convoluted. So I knew she wasn't telling the truth. And I told her, I said, well, I'll tell you what. There's a Salvation Army that's not far from us, you know, and they're giving out those kind of things. And, you know, and then you find out, you know, along the way that, you know, people are scam artists and they do these things, you know. And I'm like, here it's Christmas time and you get these people. No, they're just going to see how much they can get from who and what they can get and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, I just when I told her that, then she didn't call back anymore, you know. And so I knew it wasn't, you know, true, because when you really need help,
Right.
you're going to go for help,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And so, you know, these are the kind of things, you know, like I said, you have the good, the bad, you have the highs, the lows, you know. But the thing that's most rewarding is when you see people's lives change.
When you see the lives
and
change. Right.
especially when they're, you know, come to you in low situations, you know, and knowing that you were responsible for helping to save a life, it's worth it. You know, it's worth it.
I was thinking about, there was a gentleman that had got released from the prison, and he was in the system, and we picked him up on the, you know, had the brethren pick him up and found him a job, and they was taking him to his job. You know, he was coming to service, and so we did that for I don't know how long, a year or so. He moved back to Detroit, got reestablished, came out of that hole, doing good. He made a trip from Detroit back here and came to see us. And all he wanted to do was just thank us and thank the men for taking time with him.
Yeah.
Do you remember that him?
No, I don't remember
He
him.
came back just to drive to say thank you if y'all had not been there for me, you know, when I needed it.
Yeah.
And these are the things that when you look back, instead of folk with asthma, Dorf medicine, and all the stuff that you do, people that come back and just say thank you.
Yeah.
That's what keeps you going. I mean, that's what motivates me, like you were saying, is just those that are genuinely have been helped through the ministry and through our lives. So in spite of all the ills, in spite of some of the many mishaps and whatnot, misunderstandings and things that you have. The rewarding is you've changed lives, and I don't have a number. I don't know you. I can't count
No.
of the
You
lives
can't.
that we've changed across this country. And,
Yeah.
you know,
And again, because you
through
don't keep
ministry.
tally on that. You know,
Yeah.
you don't take. We don't take the credit for what God does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're just the conduit that the Lord uses to work through, and that's, you know, what it is. You just let the Lord work through you to do the work, because if He didn't have us to do the work, who would do it?
We're His legs and
Yeah, and
his
his
feet
voice
and
and
his voice, yeah.
everything now. And so, you know, you don't look at that. And, you know, all churches have bad times. All churches have good times. All, you know, all ministries, I should say, have good and bad times. You know, you've had those people that they specialize in going from church to church just because they're angry.
Right,
You
right,
know.
right.
But those are things you just have to let it go. You know. And you have to do what God has commissioned you to
assignment,
do.
right.
You know, and yeah, your assignment, you know, and sometimes things just don't look like you think they should look, but the good outweighs the bad. And you know, why are you in ministry? Are you in ministry for you, or for to get as many likes, or, you know, to have the biggest congregation, or whatever? Or are you in ministry because the Lord has called you or commissioned you to, again, be that conduit that He can work through?
that life support system.
Yeah.
You know, that
So-
normally that wouldn't get. You know.
Yeah.
And this is when you look back at time. I don't know where it went, but and listen, then you're pastoring generations.
Yeah, that's what I said. We've had.
We got, but
we've
what about
had
4
two-
generations?
Well, we've had
5 generations.
We've had 3, because we had the generation that was here when we came, those older, their children, and their children, and now their children's children are having children. So, what, 3, 4?
4. That's 4
Yeah.
generations.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, 27 years doesn't seem like that's long enough for 4 generations, but time is moving fast too, you know, and just to know that, you know, like I said, if one soul can be saved in 27 years, it was well worth it.
And I have observed you coming out of how do I want to say it? I have, and it'll probably be the same about me, but coming out of your comfort zone,
Oh yeah, indeed.
just to
Listen,
minister.
I
to,
was out of my comfort zone.
Watch it,
When
First
you
Lady.
said
Watch it,
pastoring.
First Lady. See that?
I'm like,
See that?
no way.
Now, for the record, you did say that you don't want to marry a preacher. For the record.
Yes.
And you did say,
For the record.
if
think you
if
gonna
you want a
pastor.
pastor, that bye-bye.
Bye.
But for the record, you prayed me over here.
Well, just
So
to say.
just think if you hadn't have prayed me over here. Just think about that. See that?
That woman you gave me.
There's somebody.
It's that woman you gave.
Matter of fact, can I give a shout out
Got a
to?
minute.
How much time do we have?
I think our time is
Yeah.
up.
Okay. Can I send a shout out to one of your longest friends? I don't know if she's on or not. Can I send a shout out to her?
Sure.
Is she out there?
She's out there somewhere.
She's out there
She's out
somewhere.
there, she'll see it later.
Well, there is happy birthday to one of your friends that you've been friends
That
with
thinks
for.
she's the only friend that I
That
have.
thinks she's the only friend, and she has been a friend for over 50. What? 3 years?
I think I was about 12. when we started,
So what is that?
became good friends.
And you're 70
That's
what?
50 years.
You're 50
Whatever.
what?
70 what? Yep.
Happy birthday. Happy
missionary
birthday.
Denise Renee
Evangelist
Collier.
Missionary Collier. Happy birthday to
Yeah,
you.
she says she's my only friend, but she pays me. So I'll stay
well,
her friend as long as she pays me.
That's right. Well, yeah. Yeah, right. You what her friend does. So listen, today I just I don't know how it was, but 27 years. Congratulations. I know for a fact that you've been doing the work of the Lord, and to God be the glory.
And you have too.
Well, thank you.
I wouldn't be in this with you. Yeah.
So to
I wouldn't be here if
to
you were a fake.
Miracle Central family, to you that are out there, we thank God again, and
Yeah.
so thank God for Miracle Central. Thank God for the saints here. God has blessed the saints tremendously, and I really, whenever we go to minister all across this country, I think it was one of the Dorothy on Oz. I don't know if she clicked her heels together or not, but she says there's no place like home.
No place like home.
So
Click,
may the Lord
click,
bless
click.
you, and may the Lord smile. Listen, if you like, share it. Share it with somebody. Let them know that you've been chatting with the Clays. Anything else you want to say?
No, we'll see you next time. Well, it won't be next Sunday, right? It's next Sunday.
Next 2 Sundays. We'll be back after PAW.
We'll be back after.
We'll be back.
We have a
after-
long, busy schedule, so stay with us, and we're not tuning you out. Just stay tuned to tune in.
God bless you. Chatting with the Clay.
My brothers and sisters, I pray that this was a blessing unto you. First Lady Clay, would you like to say anything?
Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell. Leave a comment. God bless.